Back here at the Ralston Arena, VFC 41 continues. Our next fight on the pro card, Tim Bazer, Brandon Pfannenstiel. Bazer, a pioneer of MMA here in the Omaha community, and Brandon Pfannenstiel, no stranger to one another. Should be a good one. These guys actually like each other outside the cage, Joe Wilk, but I'm sure that here in a few minutes when they lock that thing, they're not going to like each other.
No, absolutely not. And we got here a really good matchup. You know, both these guys are super nice. I actually fought Tim Bazer in my pro career, and he's a heck of a competitor. I'll tell you, guys like him will show up and they will fight anybody, and they will show up to fight. Pfannenstiel is a very skilled fighter. On paper, Pfannenstiel should win this fight. If Bazer shows up and turns this into a scrap, we could be in for another good one right here.
Yeah, Bazer's one of those guys, Joe, that you just never know what you're going to get with him. I've seen him completely dominate somebody, and I've seen him also come out and kind of look lethargic at times, and you know, maybe he would even admit that, but it's one of those things where, you know, like you said, if Tim's a game opponent tonight, it could be interesting for Pfannenstiel.
I'll tell you this, not very many people come out and do bad performances in front of 5,000 people. Here we are at Ralston Arena. Tim Bazer's a veteran. He's known well in the area. Let's see if we got a good scrap on our hands tonight. I think we do.
And Bazer has amazing hair.
Oh my goodness.
Hair.
Great ponytail on that guy.
Please welcome his opponent coming out and fighting in the motorcycle wars blue corner, Brandon Pfannenstiel.
Here comes Brandon Pfannenstiel. Brandon in his pre-fight interview saying that this might be his last fight. I know fighters say that every now and then, but this could be Brandon Pfannenstiel's last fight, at least he said for a while. So we'll see how Pfannenstiel is able to go out here as he takes on Tim Bazer. It was interesting in the weigh-ins. You weren't there for the weigh-ins yesterday, Joe, but Tim Bazer showed up, got on the scale. This is a fight at 155 pounds. Bazer got on the scale after Pfannenstiel weighed in, and Bazer was like at 163. So that means that, you know, what was going to happen was that Pfannenstiel would have gotten some of Bazer's purse, percentage of his fight purse, and comes out that they had Tim Bazer reweigh himself, and before he got back on the scale, apparently he dropped like 8 pounds all of a sudden. Then he got back on the scale at 155. So some head games going on between Tim Bazer and Brandon Pfannenstiel.
Funny story, Tim Bazer did the same thing to me. When I make weight for the Tim Bazer fight, and we're waiting for him to show up to weigh in, and he calls in and says he's not going to make weight. And I'm throwing a fit. I cut a massive amount of weight like we all always do, and I'm throwing a fit, and I'm calling him every name in the book. He comes walking in the door. I got my teeth clenched. I'm so mad. He steps on the scale and makes weight with a grin on his face. I heard he did that last night. He told me he had sandbags in his pocket, weighing himself down to mess with Brandon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is scheduled for 3 fighting rounds of the VFC lightweight division. It is brought to you by Ralston Kino. Introducing first, fighting out of the fire-barred red corner. He stands 5'11", weighed in at 155 pounds, holding a professional MMA record of 14 wins, 14 losses. Training out of Evolve MMA from Omaha, Nebraska, Tim Bazer. His opponent across the cage, fighting out the Motorcycle Works blue corner, stands at 5'10", weighed in at 155 pounds, holding a professional MMA record of 5 wins, 1 loss. Training out of Mid-America Martial Arts from Omaha, Nebraska, Brandon Pfannenstiel. Your in charge station, Steve Gilman.
In black, facing the ponytailed and red-shorted Tim Bazer, who waved off a little hand gesture from Pfannenstiel. So Bazer not interested in touching gloves when they come to the center of the cage. Here we are.
More mind games from Bazer. He's a veteran, and he's trying to get it ahead of a guy that's got a lot less fights. Oh, here we go, right off the bat. Looks like they're both going to stay in the pocket and trade a little bit here. Neither one looks like they're willing to back down.
Again, I've seen both of these guys get after it. Was here at VFC 38 for Pfannenstiel's only loss as a professional. He's 5-1. He was knocked out by Cody Carrillo out of Kansas City.
a heck of a scrap that was too. Pfannenstiel had his moments in that fight too. Cody Carrillo's a very underrated fighter, and he showed up that night, and they put on a great show for us. And we got Pfannenstiel here. Both these guys are from the area. He's trying to make up for that last loss in front of the hometown crowd, and Bazer wants to shut him down.
Well, and you can hear some of the crowd here cheering for Pfannenstiel, but both of these guys with huge followings here in the MMA community. They've known each other for a number of years, and at some point they knew that they'd probably have to step in the cage against one another.
Funny thing about fighting guys that you know, people be surprised that most of the time all the fighters are very nice to each other until this moment when you're in the cage. And then you're looking at the same guy that you're buddies with, and you got to turn it on and try to go out there and knock his head off. It's the name of the game. We got pro fights going on here, and some of these guys are looking at this as a career. You got to throw friendship out the window. You be best friends right before and right after, worst enemies as soon as the cage door closes.
Well, and that's one thing that really drew me to MMA when I started watching it really wholeheartedly after the Forrest Griffin-Stephan Bonner fight. We're about 3:25 and counting down here in round number 1 of this 5-minute round, 3 5-minute rounds here in the VFC. But that's what I love about this sport, is that these guys can be so competitive. Joe, you guys can be so competitive and at the same time have nothing but respect for each other the majority of the time. I mean, just like anybody else, we're people, so some people just don't click, and they probably wouldn't like each other if they weren't fighting each other. But that's really what I love to see, is just a ton of respect between fighters most of the time. And Tim Bazer and Brandon Pfannenstiel obviously have a lot of respect for each other, but tonight they're looking to put the other one away.
Absolutely, and they're mixing it up good here. It looks like they're both content to fight on the feet right now. And, it looks like Bazer's a little bit bigger, and I think that Pfannenstiel's coming a little straighter, a little bit cleaner on his strikes. He trains at Mid-America Martial Arts, Aaron Cerrone and Drew Dober in his corner, and those guys are always well-trained. He's out there doing well right now, and if they continue to strike at this pace, we should end up with some pretty good highlights for tonight.
And again, neither one of them really showing any interest in going to the canvas. They're going to take their chances with the leather in their feet.
Well, we'll see what happens when someone lands a good shot. You know what I mean? A lot of the times, guys go out there with the plan to stand there and trade, and then someone takes a good shot, and naturally you start grappling. It's just the name of the game. It separates us from boxing and kickboxing and the other combat sports.
What could come into play here, Joe, I've seen Pfannenstiel fight more than I've seen Bazer, but Brandon Pfannenstiel, as Bazer connects with a right, he's had a lot of quick fights in his career. And so as this goes deeper, and if we get out of the first round into the second, maybe even the third, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because Brandon Pfannenstiel is so used to finishing his opponents early on.
There's a good shot from Bazer right there as we were talking. He landed a good right hand, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes guys that have a lot of short fights, I was like that in my pro career, and sometimes when you get in there and all of a sudden you're in a dog fight, things are getting tough in there. Bazer looks like he's getting confident.
Absolutely. I was going to say, it looks like Bazer this round is really showing some confidence, and at the same time, looks like Pfannenstiel may be backing off just a tad, but Bazer very aggressive here. Final minute here in the first of 3 5-minute rounds. Victory Fighting Championship 41 live at the Ralston Arena. Sold out crowd, and Pfannenstiel and Bazer trading blows in the center.
Oh, a good uppercut from Pfannenstiel there, and Bazer's not going anywhere. He took it, and he's standing in the pocket. Back to, talking about fighters having respect for each other, Matt Kelly, you're absolutely right. And, the thing is that unless you're undefeated, you've been humbled in this sport. That's the thing. We are always constantly humbled, not only in training, but also sometimes in the cage. You're not going to win every fight. It's hard to be really cocky when you know you can lose any fight at any time. A lot of the times the hype you see before a fight is simply that. It's hype. It's these two guys trying to sell tickets and get people pumped up for the fight. And at the end of the day, they're just out there doing their job. A great exchange here at the end of the round. And it looks like Bazer's the first one that wants to grapple.
Final seconds of round number 1, and we have ourselves a barn burner. Brandon Pfannenstiel, Tim Bazer. We'll be back with round 2 right after this. This is VFC 41 on Fox 42. Well, look at Tim Bazer in his corner. We're set for round 2. Tim Bazer, Brandon Pfannenstiel, VFC 41 on Fox 42. Here we go. Alongside Joe the Nose Wilk, I'm Matt Kelly. Joe, Bazer, round 1.
You know, I am going to give it to Bazer in the first round, and because I felt like that he was moving forward more, landed some pretty good shots, and he really showed up tonight. We were talking about that, if Bazer was going to show up and put on a scrap tonight, and it looks like he came for a good fight. I love it. Let's see what we can do at the second, third round here.
Well, and you know, let's just be straight with it. You know, I saw his fight when you fought him, and again, this was the Tim Bazer that's in the cage right now was not the Tim Bazer that showed up to fight against you. And so Brandon Pfannenstiel has his hands full tonight, and not to take anything away from Pfannenstiel, these two guys just content to throw the leather at one another.
Yeah, it's interesting here because I believe that Pfannenstiel's a better ground fighter, and so I'm curious to see if things don't start going his way, if he's going to look for a potential takedown and try to dominate the fight on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, the only time we saw was at the end of that first round when they were kind of exchanging. We'll see what first minute gone here in round number 2.
Pfannenstiel is, you know, he's landing some really, really solid leg kicks. He landed a few in the first. He looks like he's going back to it here in the second round, and those really seem to add up. The leg kick thing is something that you got to start early in the fight, and you got to stick with it. If he takes Tim's front leg out here, he starts damaging that leg, he's not going to be able to plant his foot as good for punches, and that's really going to set Pfannenstiel up for success. So far, so good. Here we are, a minute and a half into the second round. Similar to the first round, but now we got Pfannenstiel backing up Bazer. He's got him cornered. Let's see if he's going to open up here, possibly look for a takedown. He backs out and lets him go, and we're throwing blows. We got a good fight here, Matt.
I mean, just as a
good
right
shot.
one right through Pfannenstiel's guards. And Bazer, I would have to say, is getting the better of Pfannenstiel here tonight, although Pfannenstiel not going anywhere, standing directly in front of Tim Bazer. Leg kick from Bazer. Not known as a huge Muay Thai guy as Bazer, more of just a brawler, I would say.
Absolutely, and Bazer would tell you the same thing. You know, he shows up for a fight. He's not the most technical guy, but when he's on, he's pretty dang good, and he's double tough. He always has been. Right now, he's giving Pfannenstiel 2 handfuls. He's up there, he's making it a fight, and I think Pfannenstiel expects to walk through him. So we'll see if Pfannenstiel wants to suck it up here. We're halfway through this fight. Does he want to suck it up and turn it into his favor, or is he going to get taken down here and possibly lose another round to Tim Bazer?
Dave Jobin making sure that neither fighter is grabbing onto the cage. That is not acceptable in mixed martial arts. You can bash a guy in the face, but you can't grab the cage, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And sometimes the smallest grab of the cage can make the biggest impact in a fight that you'd ever believe. Sometimes the guy's desperate for a takedown. The guy grabs the cage, remains on the feet. That's something you got to be punished for. Good job by the referee there, just letting them know. It didn't change the fight at all, but just watch it and keep your fingers out of there.
And you know what Dave Jobin's saying right here is work, fellas. You know, keep moving, work. If not, he's going to break it up. But Bazer's still doing some work. The knee to the inside of the thigh of Brandon Pfannenstiel from Tim Bazer. And Joe, I know that those things aren't as common, but those can be pretty, as Bazer tries for the lift. I don't know that he really has the double there, but.
No, Pfannenstiel's got an underhook. He tried to get a double there and pick him up, but Pfannenstiel's composed and doing good. And you know what the thing here with Bazer is, these knees, you know what, they're not going to do a lot of damage. But I'll tell you this right now, Brandon Pfannenstiel's on defense. He's defending a takedown. And we don't win a lot of fights on defense. We win fights on offense. And right now, Tim Bazer, I think, won the first round, and he's been on offense in the second round. It's going to be hard for a judge, in my opinion, to see Pfannenstiel winning this round when he's on defense.
Final 50 seconds of the second of 3 5-minute rounds here. 155-pound action in the Victory Fighting Championship professional ranks. Pfannenstiel trying to get away from Tim Bazer, and Bazer, Pfannenstiel sprawling. Bazer now.
Oh, wait, we got Pfannenstiel looking for a choke here. He slipped it in. He's going to try to get a roll here. If he could roll Bazer, he could have him in trouble.
And Bazer staying active though.
This is good for Pfannenstiel. Pfannenstiel is on offense, and now Bazer's on defense. And just like any sport, you do your scoring on offense. So when my guys go out into a fight, I tell them, go out there and be on offense. He's got him in trouble here. You know, that's tight. And it looks like, no, he doesn't have it. I think Bazer's going to survive the round. Round 3.
All right, most of that round to Bazer, the end to Pfannenstiel. We'll be back with the third and final round after this. This is VFC 41 on Fox 42. Back here live at a sold-out Ralston Arena, the third of 3 rounds. VFC 41 on Fox 42. Tim Bazer, Brandon Pfannenstiel, Dave Jobin getting them started here in round 3. Alongside Joe the Nose Wilk, I'm Matt Kelly. And Joe, Bazer, first round and a half probably, or round and 3/4 of round number 2. And Pfannenstiel, ooh, nice head kick from Pfannenstiel. And Bazer gives a little whoop-de-doo sign.
Yeah, and you know, Bazer here needs to switch it up. He's coming with the 1-2 over and over again, and Pfannenstiel's starting to get his timing down a little bit on it, and I think it's affecting the fight. That first round, I'm going to give it to Bazer. The second round, it's hard for me. I don't want to be a judge because I thought Bazer was controlling the round, but Pfannenstiel had him in trouble with a submission. The name of the game is finishing the fight. The closer you get to finishing the fight, the better you're doing, in my opinion. And you know, he's the only one that's been close to doing any kind of finishing. So second round, I can really see it either way. It depends on who's judging. It's an opinion thing. Finish fights and you don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. I mean, you hear it. It's touche or cliche, but do not leave fights in the hands of the judges, because inevitably they jack those things up, and we've seen it across. I mean, it doesn't matter what level, UFC, Bellator, whatever. I mean, it's been all across the board. Joe, you've probably been a part of that, and I know you're a guy that doesn't like your fights to go to decisions either, and I know these two guys inside the cage here. Have you ever really met a fighter, though, that wants to go the distance when he fights?
I'm amazed, Matt, that I hear guys say that on the UFC in their pre-fight interviews. They'll be talking on the broadcast and they say, oh, you know, I'm looking to win all 3 rounds of this fight. All 3 rounds? I'm looking to finish the guy in the first 15 seconds every time I step into the cage, you know? And it's strategy. It depends on what kind of a fighter you are. In my opinion, when I go out to fight, my way is like this. If I don't finish the guy and I get tired and he finishes me, we saw a heck of a fight. I go out there and I go for it, and a lot of fighters are the same way, but you got some of the guys that like to slow it down and try to game plan people.
If you're just joining us on that shot right there, this is not a hug fest. This is VFC 41 on Fox 42, and that is the back of the bald head of Brandon Pfannenstiel, and he has Mr. Tim Bazer up against the cage. It looks like they're hugging each other, but this is nothing friendly about any of this going on. And Bazer
throws a headlock here, and he, you know, he gets a takedown. He's on top. The problem with the headlock is overall control. If Pfannenstiel's able to chase his back here, he's going to have 2.5 minutes with a very good position to try to do work. He needs to go for it with his right leg and try to achieve that hook. He slips his head out and he's on the back and he's got 2 minutes to do work. If not, Bazer's going to sit here and he's got the schoolyard headlock. You've seen this 100 times when you were in grade school. Back elbow from Bazer. What do we got going on here?
Jobin's going to stand him up. I think maybe he said that elbow. It looked like his elbow might have hit him in the groin.
Oh, okay.
There. So Brandon Pfannenstiel will have some time to recover as Dave Jobin will send Bazer to the neutral corner.
Welcome to Victory Fighting Champions, folks. Let me tell you a phrase that you're never going to hear again, and I just heard it for the first time in my life: an elbow strike to the groin. It's not that common, but that's Tim Bazer for you. Only Tim Bazer lands an elbow shot to the cup. Here we go.
We are back at it. I'm going to mark that down. That's the first elbow to the groin.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, a very underutilized technique, I think. But we saw it here. You saw it first on Victory Fighting Championships. We got 1:45 of a close fight. This is crunch time, Matt. This is who wants to win the fight. A great stuff right there by Pfannenstiel. Shut down Bazer's takedown. And he's in a great position now. He's got 1.5 minutes. Bazer's not going to quit here. So what Pfannenstiel needs to do is turn it on. He potentially lost those first 2 rounds, and he's got to know that. He's got 1.5 minutes here. He should go for it.
Knees to the body legal here, Joe. Knees to the head not when a grounded opponent, but knees to the body anywhere away from the head are legal here. The hammer fist from Pfannenstiel. Another right knee to the midsection of Bazer.
I think Bazer's complaining that those are to the back of the head, but they're not. The back of the head is
Isn't it as long as you're hitting the back of the ear, as long as you have that back part of the ear
absolutely
on your glove somewhere, it's legal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It is basically any contact with the ear is going to make it a legal strike, and it's intent. Pfannenstiel's not trying to hit Tim Bazer in the back of the head. He's trying to punch him in the face. Tim Bazer is turning his head to defend. So it's a choice from Tim Bazer there to get hit in the back of the head. We've got great referees here tonight, a great commission here in the state of Nebraska. They went over that clearly in the rules meeting, that exact scenario, so they should both know the rules.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be, if the final 25 seconds tick off here, this is going to be a tough call for the judges. I would not want to be in their position. Final 15 seconds. Tim Bazer, Brandon Pfannenstiel, they appear to have gone the distance in their 155-pound Victory Fighting Championship fight. And
Bazer reverses him right here at the end of the fight and potentially is winning himself this fight with this. You finish strong and the judges see that. And Pfannenstiel with a sweep. These guys turned it on. In the last 15 seconds, they really got after it. A great fight, mutual respect, and here come the judges with their opinion of what happened, but we know it was a good fight.
We'll be back with the official judge's decision right after this. VFC 41 on Fox 42. Back here at a sold-out Ralston Arena, Omaha, Nebraska. VFC 41 on Fox 42. Mike Kendall in the cage with our official decision.
3 rounds of MMA, we go to the judges' scorecards. And 2 judges score this bout in favor of your winner by split decision. Out of the blue corner, Brandon Pfannenstiel.
Brandon Pfannenstiel with the split decision victory over Tim Bazer. We'll be back with more VFC action right after this.